Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview in the None of Our Businesses YouTube show and podcast. With me today is Summer and Steve Underwood. They have what is called the Kush report, and they are brokers of cannabis business sales, which is a really unique business and something that I'm excited to get them on the show today to talk a little bit about. We'll kind of start from there, hear a little bit about their business, and then get into some more questions about how they got into this. Let's start with your current business. Tell us about the current business, what you do and who you serve.
We run the kushreport.com. We're commercial real estate brokers specializing in the cannabis license space. So we sell dispensaries, farms, wholesale processing licenses, and properties. And we've been doing it now for about 3 years.
Third year.
And we absolutely love it.
Yep. So we service the cannabis farmers, the cannabis dispensary owners, the wholesale distribution centers, and we also sell processing labs. So anybody that owns one of the cannabis licenses or cannabis or a property attached to it, that's who we help service.
And the people that come to you for this, they could be people who own these businesses and are looking to sell, or they could actually be people looking to buy. They could be buyers looking for a business to buy as well.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Correct. Now, I've been in real estate my whole life. My parents actually opened the first Remax in Salt Lake City back in the early 80s. So I've done many transactions, whether it be residential, commercial, now cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to take, and we'll go a little bit into it, but we've taken Summer's passion of cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
my passion of real estate, and kind of put them together like peanut butter and chocolate, if you will. And, we do service. We love dealing with dispensary owners, farm owners that already have an entity who are looking either to grow their business, or maybe they're getting ready to tap out and get out of the game. We work with buyers who are seasoned, who have OLCC licenses or other licenses nationwide and are looking to expand their empire. Or we deal with a lot of newbies. There's a lot of new people coming into this space.
Yeah, lots.
And we provide a little bit, education, help people get up and running, understand what it is that they're getting into here, and feel that we love taking care of people. So that's kind of our lane. That's kind of our space. And
I would say most of the clients are repeat offenders, meaning that they're already in the system. They're already either have a dispensary or a farm, and they're just looking to either go vertical or just expand their empire. But we have a good handful that are already in the system and just keep growing. So I think it's all across the board, either new people or people already in the system. And it's just taking off. Honestly, I'm just seeing like grandmas get into it. I'm seeing little kids get into it. It's just all across the board. Everybody's really just tapping into the cannabis license space at this point.
It is, and we'll help somebody if they've got like a full dispensary and they're looking to sell that. We'll help somebody if they've got a building and they're looking to marry a retail license to it. We can help them with that. If they've got a building and want to get rid of a license, we can sell a license that way. Right. And then, they can keep the building, or they can lease it out, or whatever they want to do. So it's not just an existing, entity. It would be, we can customize too and help people find those licenses if they need one, license only, or even help them sell a license only if they need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the cannabis license space is unique because back in 2017 and even early 2018, anybody could come in and just pick up a license, right? You could just go in and apply and put your $250 down and get in line. And then after June of 2018 is when they put the moratorium on the production licenses, and then it just slowed down all the other licenses. So since that happened, I think our business took off because you couldn't just go and apply for a license anymore. Well, you could go, but maybe like for not production, but the other three, and they would tell you it might take 2 or 3 years to wait. So when we came into the space, we were dealing with farmers that were wanting to get out, and they were maybe losing their farm, and they're like, we kind of were like, hey, I think that license can be moved. And so we kind of created this little avenue where we could extract the license. And then we found a buyer over here and said, hey, you need that license. You got a property. Let's marry it together. So we started doing that soon after June of 2018. And I would say the licenses only really took off. I think a lot of people want to get into the space still, and it's the only way for them to get in a shorter amount of time. Mm-hmm. So licenses only have been a huge part of our business, and it just kind of took off when the OLCC did the moratorium.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we should mention, I think our audience probably knows this, that I'm out of Portland, Oregon. You guys are located, you started this in the Portland metro area, right?
We did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know, right? Well, I don't know how far back to go, like to how we discovered Oregon, but
tell how you felt. Yeah, let's give a little history.
Yeah,
we'd
love to hear it. Yeah.
What the next? So.
Well, it was oddly enough, Steve and I first decided that we wanted to drive trucks together, and so we went and got our CDL in Utah, and we thought it would be really fun to take off and travel the United States and do yoga in every state and check it out. And so we both got our commercial driver's license.
We still have them.
And we lasted all of 6 weeks. But the positive thing that came out of it is that we were able to deliver dog food up in, what was that city? LeGrand? Ontario, LeGrand. And we were blown away by Oregon. We thought, oh my gosh, the state is beautiful. The topography, the people were so relaxed, and cannabis was recreational here. So that is initially what drew us to Oregon. And so we moved to Portland. And that's initially where we started our business. And first we came here and started off with residential. And how did that go?
It was too slow for Summer. You can't bore her with the residential properties. It just wasn't fast enough for her.
It felt a little bit like high school. That's all I will say. And so I love my residential people, so I'll leave it at that. So then we hopped on over to commercial, and it was really exciting for us. We were like, wow, we're going to be commercial brokers. And our first listing was at Dairy Queen. We were like, yes.
We were so excited.
First listing was like $3 million, and we were like, yes. And then we looked at each other like, who do we call?
Who wants a Dairy Queen?
So that one is about 6 weeks as well or less. And then it was kind of one of those things that spawns out of darkness. I remember the time when I was looking to get into cannabis, and we were still in commercial. And I secretly went on Craigslist and was looking for jobs in cannabis. And then I had to come and tell Steve that I was going to an interview. And when I broke down to him and said, I'm going to go look at a cannabis job, he's like, well, I want to come. I want to do it. I love cannabis. And so we actually first got into a wholesale gig, and we introduced a seller or a dispensary owner, and then our wholesaler friend. And they sat down at a table, all four of us. And within about a minute, our dispensary owner started yelling at him. I am not even joking. She was like, what is this shit? You get this shit out of my face. What the fuck? Steve and I were like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kicked us right out of wholesale. Wholesale did not last for us. And then that friend actually came to us and said, hey, I've got a couple other dispensaries that are not open, but they have a license attached to them. Do you guys want to help me sell them? And that is initially where we got started. So we picked up her dispensaries. She had a total of 3 of them, and that got us started. We had those 3 dispensaries, and then it took off from there. We had a couple more. We had 6, and then I think within 6 months of business, we were at 25.
Yeah.
And then we were at 25 cannabis licenses, cannabis entities that were for sale. And then that was when we first got started, and then it just took off. And then nobody else was really in that space. So we didn't have anybody that was like wanting to own the cannabis license space. It was so brand new. There was nobody even thinking about it. I mean, it was in 2017 and people were still just trying to find a location. And we were saying, hey, we'll sell your business. So, that's initially how it really got started. It was like us coming and trying to survive, and just our love of cannabis and Steve's love of real estate that got us into this. And it's sometimes I ask myself, why did I choose this path when it takes a year to close out a deal with the OLCC? But I love cannabis with a deep passion, and I believe in its power of medicine. And that's really what I think helped us, our staying power. It's staying power and not powder, is that we love it. We really believe in the product and wanted to be able to promote it.
Yeah, so we were able to convert or take those initial listings, and we created a template or a file that we would email out. And
because you couldn't go post our new listings on RMLS or
Zillow wouldn't take it, LoopNet wouldn't take it. So we started our own little email and our own little flyer, and we would send it out, and we
Let's send it out once a month.
kind of got a following, and then we would add people to it. And then before you knew it, one thing spawned to another, and Summer was like, we need live listings.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up creating a website. All of our goods are, all of our, offerings are on the website.
TheKushReport.com.
And that's where you can go now and check out these different cannabis offerings. So yeah, we're here in Oregon, and that's headquarters. And right now we're in Ashland, Oregon.
Oh.
So we're down at the very bottom of the state, close to California. And the idea was we're brokers in California too. So we were like, well, let's break into everything from Sacramento to Portland. And then we just didn't jump into the California market as much as I think we thought. It's a lot different beast.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Their OLCC is so difficult, and you can't move licenses like here in Oregon. You can take in a license and move it to a new location. You can't do that in California. So we feel like they squeezed all the fun out of it.
They did. So we are nationwide. We have a lot of friends that are here in Oregon, but are also in other states. So we're kind of tagging along in those states with them and offering, the different cannabis licenses in those states too. But we're in Ashland. We talked to you, Ty, a week ago, 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And in that time, since we last spoke with you, we're moving back to Portland. No joke.
Man. Okay.
Yeah, right? So here, breaking news.
Breaking news. Dun, dun, dun.
Can we do a little flash? Breaking news.
No, we miss Portland. We miss the dispensaries. I miss the dispensaries. I can speak for myself that I first fell in love with dispensaries. I wanted to work at a dispensary. I wanted to own a dispensary. And then when I found out how much work goes behind that, I said, no, I'll just sell one. But I love dispensaries. I love going to Portland and seeing new dispensaries and new products and the new ways to run a retail shop, it just excites me.
It does. She really enjoys it. And I mean, her love of going to the dispensary has carried over to family members who maybe are not as cannabis friendly.
Like grandma?
Yeah, grandmas. My mom, her mom are kind of against cannabis and think we're silly for participating with it.
Right.
And then I would say over the last 2 or 3 years, both of our moms have done this 180. And we're able to get them different products, lotions for the arthritis and just the topicals and just all the different ways that this medicine can help people. Our moms are benefiting from it. So it's fun to see their smile on their face and at the same time help our dispensary friends or people in the cannabis space looking for licenses. Because it's not like you can go to Walmart and pick up a license. You gotta, there's places you can go get them, but with what we do and how much we really care about each one of our friends and clients and really put the package together, we want to make it a win-win. So we have a lot of people we're looking for, and we've got a lot of people that we're helping out. We could probably do more.
I think what makes us unique too is that we full jumped into the swimming pool. We were like, we're going to jump into the swimming pool of cannabis licenses only. And we're not going to dip over here into residential. We're not going to do anything else. 100%, it's going to be our lane. And so because of that, we're up to date. We know all the rules of the OLCC. We know all the people that you need to talk to if you're in trouble. We know that that's just all we do. Like we wake up and eat and drink and sleep the OLCC and the cannabis license space. So I think that makes us a little bit more of an advantage for us, because when our clients come to us, a lot of times we're like educating them on what the OLCC is looking for, or what the parameters are, or what the farm size is, or all these different things. That it's because we only specialize in the cannabis license space. So I think it would be a different story right now if I was like, well, we just sold 2 homes last week, and but we do cannabis on the side. But
oh, it's such a beautiful neighborhood.
but we both jumped in, and you get both of us. It's not like Steve is like the breadwinner over here and he does everything. We're both brokers. He's the principal broker because he's been in it for a much longer time, but we both do it. We both call people. We wholeheartedly give it our all. So I think that's what's it's given us that staying power that I was talking about, is like really eat, drink, and sleeping, and being passionate about this lane, this freeway that we chose. And even though that first year, I totally understand what farmers mean when they grow their crop, and then that last week or two and it gets rained on and you get mold, and you're just like, why? That's how I totally feel that. We put a deal under contract, and it's not like residential where you get paid in 45 days or 90 days. No, generally it's 365 days.
365.
So our passion is deep. I think we had to be passionate about it, or else we wouldn't have made that first year. I mean, we owed our landlord over $20,000 our first year when we got into it, and we paid him back in full because we believe in the cannabis space. And it's really fantastic now to see cannabis, which was like the redheaded, ugly stepchild of the family, turn into like the star athlete of the family, because it's just soaring, and all of our entities are taking off, and either they're taking off and crushing it, or they're like wanting to sell, and everything's going under contract really fast.
And since COVID, it's really kind of gotten busier. A lot of people are slowing down, they're at home, whatever they're doing, but the cannabis seems to, a lot of our dispensary friends are having record-breaking days. Our farmers are running out of flour, and just everything just seems to be, everybody's on the go, go, go.
It's the star athlete.
Yeah, it's the star athlete. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. We do talk to a lot of people. More than not.
A lot too. He hasn't even said one word.
Yeah, you haven't. We've just been kind of like, hey,
no, it's great. I think there's probably a lot of obvious differences between business brokering and selling licenses and the residential space. But were there any surprising differences, things you didn't expect between selling homes and residential and then moving over to this? Was there anything that surprised you that you didn't think would be that different?
Huge surprise. Yes, we're dealing with an illegal substance. Therefore, it's federally not recognized as loanable. So the lenders in residential, I could literally take a listing from a seller, go to Zillow, upload it, and I would have 10,000 other realtors who had a buyer, probably have something, maybe a buyer fitting the criteria. Well, they've already probably been pre-screened with a lender. They probably already have an escrow or a title company that they're planning on utilizing, and they probably have the paperwork already put together. So those three big things, we had zero of those on the cannabis side. When we go to an escrow or a title company and we're like, hey, we got a building, and they're like, oh, cool. And then they go do their little search like they're supposed to. They're supposed to find things on these properties. It's kind of funny. They're in the business of finding irregularities with the property and the title. Well, for heaven's sakes, you're going to find out it's a cannabis business, whether it's a farm or a wholesale or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they kick them out. They will say, hey, thanks for calling us, but we can't close this entity. So we've got to find other arenas. Maybe an attorney will close it. Maybe you go through a title company, but you kind of like push it through really fast. There's ways to get it done, but that was surprising to me. The second thing was lending. Yeah, we can't find any reliable, good financing in this space. Everybody wants 12 to 15%. They want 5 to 10 points to secure that financing. So our clients are all cash. When I was doing residential before, I had a bunch of clients and they were all putting 3 to 5% down. Now we've had to go find people who have money. So they've got the cash to come in and buy it.
There's a lot of seller carries too.
A lot of seller carries.
We prep because there's no financing out there, we really do prep our sellers that most people that are going to come in are going to ask for some type of seller carry. And that's we prep every single one, and the majority of them right now have some type of seller carry.
A lot of them,
not for 30 years, but maybe 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, there's buyers out there that have the cash, but and especially with COVID, now everybody's like wanting to hold on to that cash, or give a little bit to secure a property, and make a seller do some carryback. And then the funny thing, the seller, what they think and say is, it didn't work for me. Why does this new buyer think it's going to work for them, and why should I have to carry? So there's a little education that goes on with that conversation, saying it's okay that it didn't work out for you, and there's ways to protect the buyer and the seller to make sure if payments aren't made. See, it gets kind of crazy, right? I mean, there's a lot of different things that people don't think about. Now, what we're anticipating or hoping is that it federally legalizes here at some point. And I've been talking about it for a couple of years now, that the current president wants to get reelected. This isn't going to become a political conversation, but he wants to get reelected. So a week to a month before the elections, I believe he's going to come out and say, we're going to federally legalize this. He's going to get reelected, and then we're going to have cannabis. What does that look like? Oh, for heaven's sakes. Now you can get lending. Now I can go to the title company. I think the properties that we have now will increase in value once we do federalize, only because there's going to be more money available in that space. So people can come in with maybe a 10% down payment as opposed to 100% cash.
Right.
So with that, you're going to get 2 or 3 or 5 buyers on an entity where right now, maybe we only have one. So I see that's going to be a shakeup.
Yeah, I think that'll happen too.
That'll happen. So those are some different things that we've had to navigate. Oh, and the forms and the contracts. When we first started this, we didn't have any. Now we've got all of them. We got the LOIs, we got your purchase agreements, we can hold deposits.
Agreements.
So we can not only, get the interest of a buyer and a seller, we can then put the paperwork together. We can collect the deposit and hold the deposit because we are a commercial brokerage. So we found that title companies won't hold the escrow or the deposits. Most attorneys don't want to unless they're involved with the transaction. And then they have rules that, well, I'm involved with it, I can't really. So it gets tricky on that aspect. But we're a third party who can hold the monies. And we are very transparent on all of our deals, making sure that both the buyer and the seller are aware of what's going on. And we try and make it, enjoyable, try and make it fun. Now, we love this space, and I've done loans, I've done real estate, I follow the economy, I follow a bunch of different things. And some things we're talking about here now with some of our potential buyers of producer licenses is on the space. We have an interesting situation here in Oregon where we've got maybe 1,000 producer licenses for cultivation. Each one of those have a maximum of an acre? So maybe in Oregon, we've got 1,000 acres. That's very grossly high because not everybody uses a full acre. Some are using, the smaller size canopies. But if we had 1,000 licenses and each one of them were an acre, that's 1,000 acres. Oklahoma right now, you can go get a license.
Oh, that's crazy.
And there's no cap
limit
on space.
Just grow as much as you want.
If you own 1,000 acres, you now all of a sudden can grow more collectively than Oregon could. Think about that for a half second. People don't usually call us and say, hey, I'm looking for Oregon wheat. They always say, or I'm sorry.
I'm like, yeah, they do.
They do.
I'm like, they always call us.
I'm looking for Oklahoma wheat. They never say that. No. They're like, we want Oregon wheat. That's what they say. So I think as far as craft cannabis goes, as being in the leader in the market nationwide, we're there. The challenge I see is when people are coming in, they're buying property or they're going to get a license based off our current rules. So if you got maybe a 5.5 acre lot and you have a house on it and you're thinking, hey, I want to get a license and tie that to the 5.5 acres, I would say think twice before doing that. Only because once we do become federally legalized, I believe the OLCC is going to come in and change that canopy size because other countries right now also don't have a limit. So we have friends that are going to other countries right now and talking about growing thousands of acres of cannabis. Hectares. They're talking about hectare. I'm like, what's a hectare? They're like, it's a group of acres.
It's like 2.5.
Yeah, it's like, it's a lot of acres. And we're like, they have like 2,000 what do they call it? Hectares, 2,000 hectares. So that means they got like 4,000 acres that they're going to grow and cultivate. So what maybe I'm throwing out there is that if you're potentially thinking of buying a production license and are thinking about getting some land, make sure you can grow into it because we may end up with a 5-acre plot, a 10-acre plot, a 100-acre plot that those are now going to be able to grow into. So today, if you're buying a piece of property, I would make sure that you can grow into it, would be my thought. And this is just Steve Underwood's opinion.
Yeah, I think that's in line with one of the questions I had for you, because when you talk about the potential for federal legalization, I would wager that a lot of cannabis businesses, one of their primary competitive advantages is the regulatory environment that creates somewhat of a moat around their business compared to just everybody who might want to just get into that. And so, I guess that's the tough question, right? If it becomes federally legal, what would you advise these different businesses to do in terms of developing their key competitive advantage. With the producers, it sounds like being ready to scale would be one issue. What are do you have some other thoughts that, with your experience in the industry, about how they can maintain or develop a competitive advantage post legalization?
That's a great question.
That's right.
That's a great question. If it were me and I were to put my money in the cannabis space, I would go get as many farms as I could. And I would get as many licenses on that farm as I could. And I would grow, because right now we're capped by the borders of Oregon. And if we grow anything over 2 million pounds, we cannot consume it. I've tried. I've tried for the whole state.
You're trying to personally solve that problem, huh?
I'm trying, but I can't do it alone. But I'm saying that we're capped by the boundaries of the state. Once we have no boundaries, holy cow, I would grow as much flower as I possibly could, and then secure long-term contracts with people in either different states or different countries, and just make sure that whatever I grew was going to them, and bam, I would be set. So for long-term thinking, that's one thought that I've got. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure as far as like retailers go and processing labs and wholesale. I don't even know what to think of when it goes national.
I think delivery also on the retail scene. I think we have 650 retails in Oregon. We only have like 350 Starbucks. So I'm not suggesting that we have too many, because we have Dutch Brothers and others, but there's 650 retailers just within the confines of our state. Nobody has figured out delivery only. Blows me away.
I think Oregonians love to go see their bud tenders. I think it's just in us that we love to leave the home and go see the different flower and see the different bud tenders. But yes, nobody has fully figured out how to deliver like other states like California.
Yeah, I had a medical license in California back in early, 2011. And getting home delivery right to the house, that's fun. I like that. And I quite enjoyed it. And I know people do. Here in Oregon, we just haven't factored that in yet. I can see drone delivery. I can see delivery only. I can see that being a very scalable model in the future. It's not today.
Maybe not 10 years. Maybe.
I don't know when.
I don't know.
But you can get Amazon like 10 minutes after you order something. So I don't know that people, at some point, I think flower is going to fall into that same category, that people want it right now. They want it delivered. That's my opinion. That's just me.
Yeah, and I suppose, when it comes to the competitive advantage and the regulatory environment, it depends on what legalization actually looks like. I mean, there could still be a lot of regulation, even though it's otherwise more or less federally legal. And so there's a lot of possibilities there. I think one of the things that I admire about the industry, though, is it's one of the few places where we see industry operators who are passionate about the product, such that they're willing to speak against what I see as their own interests, in the sense that people like yourselves involved in the industry have a passion for the product and for the community. And so you see that legalization would be good for a variety of reasons, even though, if you think like I do, it's probably not good, for the average kind of small business that is able to operate right now within those confines. It's not necessarily in their interest that those regulations change if they've already figured out how to work them, so to speak, right? And so, and yet you see the community en masse still kind of puts the legalization ahead of necessarily their business interests, and you don't really see that in other industries that I can think of.
And it's so interesting too, because each state is so different. So I mean, we sell a license only right now. Production is going for $150,000, and I think if you were to go to Vegas and look for a production license or production license only, it might go for $5 million. So
Florida, they're going for $50 million.
So there's a big discrepancy between each state. I mean, 150 between 50 million versus Massachusetts, where their dispensaries are doing how much? They're like astronomical numbers. I mean, when I see the numbers that the Massachusetts dispensaries are doing, it blows my freaking mind. So a dispensary that is in Massachusetts would go for well over a couple million, and that's what ours normally go for here in Oregon. So when you talk about federal legalization, yeah, how do you regulate the discrepancy of each state and each regulation? So that's what I'm saying. It's hard for my mind to break it down and understand what they could do, because each state still has their each, you know, each their own rules and regulations, and like, how do you mix all that together to make it make sense?
Yeah, it's a little jumbled right now, in that Summer and I both grew up in Utah, and we only bring it up because they are medically legal now, and they've got 11 cultivation licenses or production licenses and 12 dispensaries in the whole state. We've got 1,000 production licenses and 650 retail space. So our licenses are just inherently lower priced because there's more of them. And then over in these other states, whether it's Florida or Utah or whatever, they just have fewer licenses. So when it does become national and it goes, it will. I don't know how you do it. I'm anxious to get banking on board and, you know, get rid of 280E. I know that's something you're familiar with. And that just really makes it difficult for these retailers to become profitable. So we need to start making profits. Everybody thinks that a dispensary owner is a millionaire. They're just barely a hundredaire. I mean, at the end of the day, because they can't write off their tax, they can't write off the traditional business.
So high.
Coffee, you got cost of goods sold, you write everything off, and those guys that, you know, run a coffee shop, they're making some bank. The dispensary, it's retail, but you don't get those write-offs. So now you're paying a huge tax liability, and you don't get the benefit of, you know, making the big bucks, at least yet. I think it'll change, but we're not even close to where it needs to be.
Not even close.
Sure. Yeah, I think, well, with regard to your business, is this something you're able to run with just the two of you, or do you have to have support staff of some sort that helps?
We got the two of us. We got a guy that helps us with our website, Bill. He's awesome. And we are looking to bring on some more people, so support staff, because it has been just the two of us, if you will. And we're doing great. There's enough business out there that we could clone 3 or 4 more of us and keep all of us busy. So we're in the process, of you know, bringing on people. We're looking for cool people, you know, who could come in and kind of help see the vision that we've created. We really do love it. You know, it's one of those things that we wake up and we're cannabis brokers, and it's like, woohoo! We really,
it's tough. They have to be passionate about it. You know, like I said, it's not like a 45, 90-day payout. It's a 365 days to get paid out on most transactions. So it makes it a unique spot to be in, a unique lane. We've tried to bring on some staff, and it's just, it's real estate, but it's a whole different line of real estate, you know? So it just makes things tricky when you're trying to bring somebody on and explain the OLCC packets to them, and they're just like, I'm done. I've sent them the packet. And I'm like, no, there's a whole lot more to go with it than just sending them packet, honey. So it's just a unique spot. There's no path that's been tread yet. You know, we're still like finding the path and like marking it. Hey, this is a good path. Keep coming, guys. Or, hey, this isn't a good path. Let's back up, guys. Wrong lane. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that make it really tough. I mean, our bank accounts get shut down all the time. They get shut down when we do wires or transfers because they're like, hey, that's a cannabis company. And then they shut us down, and there's only so many banks out there that you can go to. And, you know, we should be able to receive a wire for a deposit. We should be able to. And then when you go into your bank and they look at you like you're a Russian mafia woman, and they say that to you, you're like, honey, do you know what you're doing? This is like worse than Russian mafia. Does your mom know what you're doing? And I'm like, yeah, my mom knows, and I supply her regularly. And, it's just interesting, you know, that it's like those type of things. Like, people are like, your bank gets shut down, you don't even touch flower. And I'm like, I know. It's really interesting that they shut my bank account down regularly. So, you know, I think it's an interesting that what we're doing, and I would love to bring more people on. I think that takes somebody who's really passionate, because you've got to be passionate to stay in this one. This is not like just, oh, this is cool in cannabis, I'm going to stay in it. No, it's tricky. It's cannabis.
It is tricky. Now, we do have, you know, people that we work with that are on the team, they might not actually be working,
Right.
at the Kush report, but we've got processors, we've got attorneys, we've got valuators, we've got really the whole gamut. Anything that could happen with this transaction, we've got people, we've got resources and people that we can, quickly reach out to make sure that we're all on the same lane and we're all, doing what we can. But yeah, internal, we don't really have anybody, but externally we got the processors, we've got inspectors, we've got just a bunch of different people who help us out that we can help out and get get to the finish line.
You've got to be exceptionally good at developing relationships. And I think about back to your story about how you got to Oregon. You weren't from here to begin with. How many years ago was that you came to Oregon?
We moved here in 2017.
Okay, so
3 years.
Yeah, so in
real estate is a
3
very
years,
relationship business.
Yeah, so tell us about, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and people who maybe are interested in being entrepreneurs and understand the importance of relationships, whether it's in this industry or other industries. I mean, that's something you clearly have mastered, quickly developing relationships and getting known. How do you do that?
Wow. How do we do it? We're people.
I don't know. I think it's interesting, and there's a lot of trust that goes in when we put somebody under contract. We have a buyer, we have a seller, and we have a buyer, and we put them under contract. And even if it's just a license only, there's a few things that they have to do in order to transfer a license over. And there's times where they call us and they're like, "Can we even do this? How am I getting a lease in their property in my name? I don't want that property." And we have to tell them, "Hey, trust in us. You've got to have faith in this. This is how you do it for the OLCC." And I've spoken to other attorneys that will say, "My clients will always back out when we get to that point because I'm telling them to do something that is not what they really want to do, like put a lease in a different location that they don't want for the OLCC." And you're trying to explain it to them. And I think there's something that comes inside of you that trust, and there's some type of trust or love that you can, your energy, your vibration that says you can trust me. Because I've had many people say that they've tried to do what we do, and then when it gets to this point, they can't get them to trust them. So there's a big factor of it that's trust, and knowing that you can trust in us, and if we're telling you to do something, it's for your best interest. It's not because we're trying to get one up or trying to get more money from you. We really are looking for your best interest. And I think it's something in the voice or your energy or that vibrational sound that comes out that we sleep well at night, or we're honest and we're truthful people. And I think about this all the time. And I talk to Steve, it's such a delicate line that we walk. And we ask them to trust in us when they're doing something that they really don't want and they shouldn't be. The leases, it's a really tricky line. All I'm saying is we have to ask them to have a lot of faith in us and trust us. And I think that's what really it comes down to, is that we're honest and truthful people, and they can trust us, and we get deals done. At the end of the day, we get deals done. And I think a lot of it has, I don't know, I'm sounding really girly when I say this, but I really think it comes down to who you are inside.
And what she's referring to is when they've got to trust us, is that when you sell just a piece of paper, license only, there's two phases. They got to do a change of ownership, and then you also have to do a change of location. The change of location requires the owner currently to sign a lease at the new place, even though it's temporary. It might be a month or 3 or 5 while
they don't really want it.
They don't want it. This is where the other attorneys are saying, or some attorneys lose those kind of deals only because it seems kind of goofy that they would have to sign a lease at this new location.
It is goofy.
And it's an OLCC policy. It's what they require right now. Is it right? I don't know. It's what they ask us to do. So, in terms of being transparent and being honest and, forthright with everybody, is that, we, I think, do such a good job taking care of both our buyers and our sellers that we get a lot of referral and repeat business.
Yeah.
And somebody might be a seller today, and we sell their entity, and then they turn around and become a buyer tomorrow. And then they turn around and they're another buyer, and then they're another seller. And we've done 6 or 8 different transactions with multiple people. And then not only are they coming back, but then they bring Jimmy or Johnny or Bobby.
So word of mouth.
Word of mouth is very big as well. Not to mention, we call people, We
Yeah.
got to see it. You know, the first time we called people, we're like, hey, we're cannabis brokers. Click.
Oh, it was
You
brutal.
know, it was brutal. So we had to find the right verbiage and the right ways to present our message to get people to want to listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we get them on the horn and they realize, hey, we can help you sell your entity. We can help you buy an entity.
Mm-hmm.
We can help you in if you have equipment, we can help you with equipment. We're working on financing, so we can help you with financing. I want to create an escrow company so we can do that as well, and just keep everything, you know, future plans for us. I mean, we really just want to encompass this space and be that source. And I think having the passion that we do, wake up, people feel it when they talk with us. You know, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that I needed you guys, and now I'm going to send my mom over. We get that a lot. And I was like, cool,
My
thank
brother.
you.
We don't get my
brother.
mom that often.
Yeah, right? I was thinking of the couple that we talked to recently. But anyway, but I think, yeah, it's hard because we come in with nobody really knowing us in Oregon.
Yeah.
And real estate,
Well,
who
we went
jumps
to high
into
school
real
here.
estate? If you don't know anybody, rule number one, if you're in real estate, don't move to a town that nobody knows you. I mean, that's just the golden rule. If you do, you better be able to walk and talk and do what you do and get in there and start drumming up some business. And it took us a little while. And now because we're select, because we're in this lane, we don't really jump outside. People will ask us, hey, help me find a house or help me find a building. And we're like, no, when you're ready and you got your building, come back, I'll get you a license. So it keeps us focused here. And then they come back. I had one guy, he's like, you're a commercial broker and you won't help me find a building. And I'm like, that's right. I'm busy enough with all of these other licenses and entities. I will make sure you have a license when you find a building, is what I told him. Mm-hmm. He went and found a building. We went and got him a license, and everybody was happy. But I think just taking care of our people. I think they realize quickly that we love what we do.
And I also think too that we fire people. And I think that's what helps us stay on top of our game. Like if we smell something fishy from a client or if they're disrespectful to us, we'll fire them. Because, look, we believe in the golden rule, treat others as you believe in being treated. And when people disrespect us or say like, well, I don't trust you. Okay, then maybe we shouldn't do business together. So I think like taking the power, like we allow our clients to fire us. If they're not happy with us, they can fire us at any time. And we allow the same. If we're not happy with you at any time on how you treat us, we can fire you too. So I think that's an important part of like, we're not desperate. We don't have to take any. And we've had a couple of our clients, like one of our first, it was a big deal and brought her a buyer. And then we had to walk away. We actually called the buyer and said, we found our seller lying and we do not trust her. We fired her as a client. You can move forward if you want to, but we are stepping away from the transaction. And it was almost a $100,000 transaction that we walked away from. And the deal went through and they went into court. They sued out of court. That being said, we walked out. We walked out at the beginning, caught her lying, and we kicked her to the curb like, good riddance to bad rubbish. And so I think it's important that that's how we remain our good reputation, is that we will fire people if we find them lying to us or not trustworthy. We're not in it just for the money. We will fire you because we want to stay around. We want to be in business in 5 years. I want to be in business in 10 years. And it's all about the reputation. And I'm not willing, and Steve's not one, to take more money but not have the opportunity, or to have people to lose face. And people be like, oh, they put them in a bad deal. It's not worth it to us.
Juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Well, I think you've given us so many valuable kind of different business lessons here today. And I think some of them are, they're not just cannabis related. I think that if our viewers are watching this, cannabis is an industry, but one of the things I enjoy about the cannabis industry is that there's like just some basic kind of business principles that are unvarnished that kind of work in the industry. And, you've talked in your story today about the power of doing good work and being trustworthy and having respect for yourself and being willing to fire clients, and lots of great gems that I think that we can take away from this. So thank you for your time here. I'd like remind our viewers that you can find Summer and Steve at the kushreport.com. We'll put the link down in the description for you all. And any parting words before we close out?
My closing words would be, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to go into something, I feel like I was an entrepreneur since I was little. I just didn't find that right niche for me. And it took me until I was 36 to find that one passion where it doesn't feel like I'm working. Like I really feel like what I do with the cannabis license space is just my livelihood. Like I love what I do. And until I told Steve, I will do this until I wake up and I don't love it anymore. But I always wanted to start a business until I always wanted to. I always wanted it. And I would tell people, I don't know what to do though. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to start, you know? And then when cannabis came about, I knew it was it. It hit me. I believed in it. I feel it. I mean, I feel like you could cut me and I would bleed green like cannabis, you know? I was like, oh, there's some, like, that's her THC. Which one is that? Is that Skittles? You know, like, what is she bleeding that day? You know? Oh, no, it's garlic breath. She's been loving garlic breath. And I really feel passionate about it. That was like my biggest thing that I would share with others is that don't pursue something that seems like work. Like if you really wake up and you don't love it, or there's like all these things you can complain about it, like find something that you truly love, that you wake up and it doesn't feel like work. You just wake up and you enjoy what you do, because you're going to have to do something, whether it's gardening or taxes or cannabis license brokering or real estate. You're going to do something, you know. You've got to have a plan here in life and make sure that whatever you're doing is something you love. And honestly, if you don't love it, you can change at any time, because Steve started when he was 46. So I'm saying you can restart a new career path at any time, but I really think it's that waking up and loving the product and loving what you do. And I see a lot of people that come in and they get out because their wife doesn't love it. And so there's this friction at home because she loves wine and he loves cannabis, and you know, and it's just being able to have both of like the passion, you know, like if you have the passion, it will make it, when you hate your job or whatever you're doing, it will make it not so bad. It's just like annoying versus like, oh, I hate this. You know, it's just annoying.
That is awesome. And as far as when we get a listing and we talk with, you know, the seller and we're like, cool, we're going to get you an offer and this is going to be sold. What do you want to be when you grow up? What now are you going to go do? And what passion are you going to go find? And my recommendation for people would seriously be do something you love doing, and don't do something for the money. We get people calling. It's really funny. They're like, hey, I understand you can make $50,000 a month in cannabis owning a retail. And I'm like, yeah, no, you can't. You know, it's going to be difficult to get to that point. But if you really don't love what it is that you're doing, go do something that you do love doing. Zig Ziglar said it best. Do what you love doing, the money will follow. So I would highly recommend, don't do something because somebody's doing and they're making money. That's silly.
Right.
If you want to make money, you know, go find your passion and then do within that passion, and then the money will flood in. Because there are days that we wanted to slit our wrist. We're like, this is crazy. Our business model is that we don't get paid for 12 months. WTF, that's silly. But you get a couple of closings, and then you can handle the wherewithal, and then you now understand that it's 12 months, and you're like, you better make sure that you're good for the 12-month period. And that's something we had to learn. And if we didn't love real estate, if we didn't love cannabis, and you're telling me it's taken a year to get paid, we'd be doing something else right now.
Without doubt.
But we love it.
Right.
So the parting words, just do what you love doing. You know,
Right.
and if you're in this business and you don't love it, your wife loves your spouse loves alcohol and can't figure out why you're growing cannabis or selling cannabis, get out of it. Stop fighting. Go get a winery, you know, or something, and then try that. But yeah, follow your passion is what it really comes down to at the very end here.
Excellent. Well, we will part with that. Thank you very much, and maybe we can get an update in the future to see where things are at for you and the industry.
Love
Absolutely.
to. Absolutely.
Ty, you're awesome.
Love you, Ty.
Thank you.
Fans.
Big fans. Namaste.